You built a business, it works, and it works because you're the glue holding all of it together. And you're also the reason that it can't get any bigger.
We are doing $50 an hour tasks that are preventing us from doing $250, $500 an hour, €500 an hour, £500 an hour tasks to move and advance our business forward. The biggest work is journey that the founder has to make, in the space between their 2 years of their own personal growth and development journey to move from founder to CEO. You got to put yourself first. You are your biggest investment and asset in your business. Eat well, drink your water, sleep, get off your screen, and find ways to move your body with regularity.
Welcome to the Trailblazers, the space where high-achieving women finally exhale and feel deeply understood.
We are Brittany Anderson and Disha Solanki, two leaders who have built, scaled, exited, and supported multi-8 and 9-figure companies
while carrying far more than most people ever see.
Here we go where most conversations stop.
The burnout, the pressure, the ambition, the identity shifts, the invisible load, and the moments you almost quit.
This is where the real story begins.
Trailblazers.
I bet many of you can picture this. You go away for a long weekend. By Saturday lunchtime, your phone has 9 messages. 3 of them are decisions that only you can make, and 1 is a small fire someone's waiting for you to put out. So you answer them, and it could be from the pool, the dinner table, or the car. You built a business, it works, and it works because you're the glue holding all of it together, and you're also the reason that it can't get any bigger. Today's guest helps women to change that, specifically female business owners. Johanna Voss is a fractional COO and operations strategist with 15 years of building businesses from the inside out. She works with founders who've already made something really great and are ready to stop running it like a one-woman show. She turns the big vision into the systems, teams, and operations that let the business run without the founder approving every last thing. Today, we talk about scaling without burning it all down, hiring your first real team, and why you need documented processes even when it's still only you. Welcome to the show, Johanna. Hello, Johanna. So, we've spoken before, and you're a super interesting lady. You help women get out of the one-woman show or stop running their businesses like a one-woman show. And I think I would love us to begin there. Well, number 1, what led you to this place? And then how do you do that?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Disha. Hi, Brittany. Hello, everybody listening. Very excited to be here. And so I like to talk about how I got into this as breadcrumbs from the universe, which always ends up being advice that I give entrepreneurs when they're trying to figure out, like, what am I supposed to do? And which direction am I going? I had no plans or no anything to be an entrepreneur. I probably was about 3 years into my entrepreneurial journey before I realized I was an entrepreneur. I was living in Barcelona. I had traveled around the world. I wanted to use my brain, contribute to the greater good, and of course, make some more money. So that I was just like, well, in that world, it was maybe 2011. Like, what could I do? What could that look like? So I became a certified nutrition coach, and that was how I started my entrepreneurial journey. I was living in Barcelona, so I would line up all my clients on a Saturday. I would go to my friend's apartment who had better Wi-Fi than I did because I had crap Wi-Fi that would always drop out. And so I would line up all my clients and do my nutrition coaching. And in that time period, I'm Gen X, I'm eldest daughter. So I'm like, okay, let's figure stuff out. Let's hustle. And I don't have the answers in front of me. We didn't have the sort of Google chat, we didn't have all the online resources and stuff that we have now with so many answers at our fingertips. I didn't even have a smartphone. It was not that kind of world and that kind of vibe. It was very much, you got to kind of just put your head down and figure stuff out. I wanted to create courses. I was like, okay, what other offerings can I do to make more money? And how can I generate more income and market and get myself out there? And Facebook was basically the only place to market back then. Facebook and a MailChimp newsletter. And so I would market these 30-day coaching programs, and I would market them, and I would get people to sign up, and I would close a cart on a Thursday, and they would be, 28 days, 30 days, so basically 4 weeks. And then I would spend Friday, Saturday, Sunday creating the next first week of content. And then I would, and then Wednesday of that first week, I would create the second week of content because most people do they create the program and then they don't market it and then they're like, oh my God, this failed. So I did it the reverse way because, well, obviously if no one signed up, then I didn't have to create the course. And so it just seemed to make sense to me. And in that process, I was in one business mastermind and people would watch me and they'd be like, well, how'd you do that? How'd you market it? Where'd you put your videos? Like sometimes it was even just the nuances of like, how'd you record your videos and how'd you edit them? And where'd you hang them? Like, where'd you put them for other people to see and make them private and all this kind of stuff? And that is when I learned. So people just ask me for help. So I said, yes. And I was like, sure, happy to help you. This comes easy to me. I love it. It's so much fun. I could see that other people were like really stuck and spinning their wheels. And it was in that moment, probably those first couple years, when I realized that most people don't get into the business to do the business side of stuff. They want to do the art of it. They want to be a financial coach, a business coach. They want to be, a consultant. They want to run a swim school, like whatever it may be. They want to be in that. They don't want to get back at the end of the day and talk about invoicing and systems and like client retention and how do I get new clients and like all the logistical stuff of running the business. And I love that kind of stuff. And, my brain is very much wired like that. The project management. I mean, even now, if a girlfriend will say, oh, I want to do, throw whatever, a Halloween party, my brain is already like, okay, so you need to start talking about it by this day. You have to order this by this, like plan. Like that's how my brain operates, like a kind of on a backwards project management sort of thing. And thinking about all the different pieces and like if this before that. So long story longer, I would always have people reach out and ask me for help. I always said yes. I was happy to help. People may be like, oh, I can pay you like $100. I'm like, yeah, sure. I was just doing it for fun. It was great. I was doing it on the side from nutrition coaching. And I had this moment when I was about 40 years in when I realized I was actually making more money with that thing on the side that I never talked about because it went from like, hey, can you just help me with this one thing to, hey, can you take a look at my marketing plan and like help me execute it for a month? Hey, I'm going to be launching this e-course. Can you work with me to help develop it and market it and launch it? Hey, we're doing this other thing. Can you help run, our community behind the scenes, like while we're in launch mode? So I always said yes. I always got paid and the projects just kept getting like bigger and longer. And so finally I was like, wait a second, I'm making more money over here. I'm not one for instant gratification, but in a 2, 3, 4 month period to see something come to life that you're like, oh my gosh, I helped create that. Like I was behind that and it's launched and it's live versus working with women, helping them with their nutrition around running a half marathon in 6 months. It's not the same sort of, you don't get to see the fruits of your labor. And that was rewarding for me. I like that act of doing things and accomplishing and like knowing that I was behind something. And so I just switched what I was talking about and nothing changed. I still did the nutrition coaching, but now that was on the side. My website switched to, it wasn't even called Fractional COO back then because that wasn't a thing. This was like 2013, 2014. Fractional is not even a word. I honestly don't even know what I said. I think I just was like business advisor or business help or something. And it took off. And I had a bunch of clients on retainer and I loved it. And it was super fun. So that's the breadcrumbs part is it was not anything I sought out, but it's something I'm really good at. And so the work, it's that lovely story of like the work just kept coming to me because people would talk to me and be like, oh, there's this person who can help you. Because again, no one likes doing the business side of their business. And I've just continued to say yes to the opportunities and leaned in because it's really fun. And so now I'm 15 years in and it's my thing. It's what I do. It's what I love. I love being able to help. Like it does help the greater good to be working with female founded service-based businesses because I know how much people struggle in running their business. And, my God, I say systems and people's like eyes roll back. They're like, oh, you can just hear. I don't even want to touch it. Like you can take it, but nothing makes me happier than rolling up my sleeves and getting in with someone's business and getting it sorted so that it can actually run more efficiently, more seamlessly, less friction. The CEO is happier. She's not working her buns off 7 days a week, and actually can like hire teams and do all the things.
Okay, so amazing. First of all, your journey, I'm sitting here going, wow, like those are breadcrumbs from the universe. So the thing that keeps popping in my head is things came to you, like you just kind of opened yourself to possibility, to opportunity. You weren't focused on the money. You were more focused on, I can actually make a direct impact here, if that's really what we boil it down to. So oftentimes we have women that come into, whether it's within our Trailblazers community or it's questions that we get, conversations. It does not matter how much success some of these women have had, and this is Disha and I included. There are times of pivot and times of change, and you're kind of looking around going like, give me a sign, somebody somewhere, like, what is my next? What does my next look like? It could be somebody coming off of a business sale. It could be them pivoting their career completely. It could be changing directions, like you talk about, from the wellness space into business operations, that whole dynamic. What would you say to a woman that was looking for those breadcrumbs, that is starved for them? Like, what are some of the things that they can lift their eyes, lift their level of awareness to?
So I'm going to say something that might be counter to what you will think. It is cut out the noise and get quiet. Meaning, I would probably stop listening to podcasts, searching for things. I would probably stop reading books of personal development journeys and how to 10x traction. I mean, we know all the books that are, recommended in the space. I'd go for some walks. I would stop forcing the thing that you want to force. And I know as I say this, people are listening and they're going to be like, but I need to do things. Cause that's me too. I say this and this is something that I've had trouble leaning into, but I have leaned into and it's been really revolutionary in helping me grow my business. But it is honestly, I'm not going to say meditate because I know that's not for everyone, but find your meditation in motion, walking, swimming, walking the dog, sitting outside and having a mug of tea on your front porch instead of doing it for 5 minutes, sit there for an hour. And I say this because I truly believe that those breadcrumbs that people are looking for, those answers that because they're just looking for what's one thing I should do, or what should I lean into, or who do I need to talk to? We know, and I believe that the answers are near us and around us, but that noise makes it really hard. Just the noise of day to day. It doesn't even have to be business noise, but just the noise of day to day. I mean, I don't have kids, but I have tons of friends who do. So I understand the complexities of how that makes a lot of noise and disconnect between just us as women and with all the hats that we wear. I run other businesses. I have an Airbnb. It's so easy to run around and then you sit down at 4 o'clock on a Friday. You're like, where'd the heck the week go? I didn't even do anything I wanted to do. But I think sitting in the quiet and the stillness, also, it's really uncomfortable. And a lot of times those answers, being able to sit with that discomfort of just because I get a little antsy, I should, right? We should all over ourselves. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. That's why I'm saying the answer is counter. I think really, truly just, and if you're listening to this, you're like, Joanna, you're crazy. I cannot sit for the entire day. Yeah, that's fine. But whatever thing you do, again, maybe it's you sit for 5 minutes with your mug of tea on your front porch or whatever. Make it half an hour, make it 20 minutes. Just even if you can extend it, and especially when you get to that part where you're like, oh, get a little antsy. Okay, are we at time yet? No. Just sit for 5 more minutes and stay in that space. That's what I would tell people to do because I truly believe they deep down inherently know, but we've just lost that disconnect with that intuition and inner guidance.
And it's a hard place to be sometimes because the answers are usually in the breadcrumbs sat right in front of you. And it's because we don't take that moment of silence or reflection or quiet, like you just said, to just sit and just reflect on it a little bit and go, you know what? We don't need to read more books or go out there and find more answers because what we're looking for is answers that kind of feed the echo chamber that we're in, that we need different
Yep.
answers,
Yep.
when actually the ones that we don't want to hear are right in front of us and we have to figure out how to face them. What would you say to that woman who needs to find that quiet? And it's interesting that you say when lots of women will say, or people will say, oh, I can't do that. But I always say, well, have you tried it yet? Because if you haven't tried it, how do you know you can't do it yet?
Yeah, I mean, that's so true, right? There's that old adage around oh, I can't meditate for 10 minutes. It's oh, well, then you need to meditate for the entire day, right? It's if you can't find 10 minutes, you need to do it longer, which I never really got until I got it. And I was like, oh yeah, no, this tracks. I do really need to cut out the noise and just sit. I think it's just starting small. You know, the people who say, just as you said, like, we're like, oh, I can't do that. Okay, so, you know, you dropped your kid off at school and you're sitting in the carpool line. Pull up to the parking lot and just sit there for 5 minutes. You know, it's not like you have to go home and have this quiet space and like sit in a certain position. I would say find a way to make it possible and doable for you. And if you're already doing something, that's why I keep using like the mug of tea thing. If you're already doing something for 5 minutes, great, just make it 10. Like I mean, that's just all about habits, right? I get it. It's so hard to get up early and drink water and hydrate and drink our collagen and our protein and like all those things. Just take one and like how can you kind of add it on to something you're already doing to make it viable because you're not like master changing everything. But yeah, as someone is like, "Oh, I can't do that." I'm like, "Well, have you tried? I'm pretty sure you can just sit for 5 minutes. It may be hard, but I think you can actually do it."
I want to flip a little bit here because I'm smiling in my head thinking of, when you are a type A high achiever,
Yep.
the getting the quiet, the doing the things, the like some of that can be really hard. And I think it kind of pivots us a little bit into that E word of execution. Because Joanna, like you are masterful at helping people scale, at helping them grow, at helping them systematize and do all the things that a lot of us, like we were talking about earlier on, is we wanna go like, "La, la, la," like, "Stop." Like, I don't wanna hear it. I know it needs to exist, and I know it should be done. So, one of the things I think is interesting that I've read in some of your copy is that execution is a leadership function, not a back office task. And it honestly caused me to pause because I was like, "Huh." So, getting stuff done actually is really dependent on us as leaders and setting the stage and, making sure that people have clear picture. So can you talk a little bit about like what does that exactly mean to you? And maybe what are some of the misconceptions you've seen as you've engaged with women in their business?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for reading my stuff. I really appreciate that. It's always funny when like people share stuff back to you. You're like, "Oh, I did say that." Oh my gosh. Okay. So execution is leadership, not back office. Here, okay, so this is nuanced, obviously, because everything's just not simple and it's all complicated and more so interwoven. I think I'm just thinking about how to phrase this and present this in a way to try and keep it simple. There is execution. So if you are a business owner, I'm gonna back up here. If you're a business owner and you are, because there's kind of like two different types of execution, right? There's the execution as a business owner who doesn't have systems, who is in the weeds, in the day to day, and they're like, "Oh, I'm doing stuff, right? I'm executing, I'm doing things." But they're actually just being very reactive. And it's not strategic, it's not forward thinking, it's not any sort of planning, it's not in the CEO execution role. It's literally they're just like in the team day to day of stuff, which means that all the decisions are coming back to them. They're I hesitate to use the word bottleneck because bottleneck you can pull out easily and then get the flow going again. And that's not always the case in these situations. A lot of times the founders, because they just started as a one woman show or small and they were like, "Oh, I don't even know if this thing has legs." And like all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my God, this is a real viable idea. I'm making real money. Like, wow, I need to think bigger." So of course everything is built around them. Like the whole infrastructure not even so much sits on their shoulders, but it's very hard to extract them because it's literally built around them. So the execution that they're doing is like the team execution. It's not the CEO execution of the higher level stuff to actually move the business forward. So they're doing stuff, but it fuels them feeling frustrated because they're working in the business, not on the business. And so for them to be working on the business to grow, to scale, so that people are not just in place like little hamsters, with their little legs, like doing things and executing, but they're able to work in tandem and leverage the execution of the CEO, what they're doing in their greatest and highest good, and like the things that sit always with them, marketing decisions, company expansion, culture, and then how that works with their team to execute those things to support the CEO, and then the CEO execution supports then what the team is doing on a day-to-day to move, the ball forward, all under this umbrella of like strategy and plan. So it's like we all know where we're going and we all know what direction we're all moving forward rather than like, why are we doing these things? Like, what's the end goal here? How does this all, work out? So the nuance there is there are some different levels of execution, and there's like just the doing of the stuff because we feel great. A lot of, as you said, we're all type A, like we just like doing and accomplishing and like I'm gonna put it on my to-do list so I can check it off, right? And like really nail that feeling of accomplishment versus the execution of the bigger, higher plan and being able to pull themselves out of it and model that leadership and role model being the one steering the ship.
And it's interesting what you say about to-do lists, right, Joanna? Because I bet any money mine and Brittany's to-do list looks really different to your to-do list because, well, you see, you're the expert who lives in the weeds. You see, Brittany and I expect people to be able to live inside our brain cells. When our to-do list has a tick next to it, it means that we said something out loud to someone one day and someone is 100% taking it over the line and they're running with it, right? And I couldn't think of anything worse than having to go down to the minute detail of how something's going to be executed, implemented. And it's not because I don't have the vision for it. It's not because I don't know how I want it to look. I know all of those things. I just don't understand why someone can't just live in my brain cells and go,
Yep.
this is exactly how Disha wants it. And that's exactly what turns up. So obviously, many of us need a lady like you as a right-hand lady to do some translation between what was ticked off on the to-do list and what actually arrived on our desks or in our businesses.
Oh, I love that you use the word translation. Yeah. I've often talk about myself as a bridge between a couple of different things. The founder, I oscillate between those two words because a lot of times when I come into work with a team, or even if it's small or with a very small team, the founder isn't so CEO. They're a little bit more founder because they are in the weeds and they are in the minutia and what, we were just talking about how they're in that execution rather than like how are they actually being. So part of my work often pulls them out into the CEO seat and like, what sits with you? What doesn't sit with you? What do you need to hand off? What do you need, as we're just talking about, Disha, to get out of your head so that the rest of your team knows how to do things because you've been doing things for so long your own way. So I think of myself as a bridge between helping this, say, CEO and founder continue to grow in that space, build the team, structure the team, empower the team, train the team, coach the team, have that separation so she can start to pull herself out of being in those weeds. And then also being a bridge between, okay, she started this company, she has a thing. There's always other ideas and directions she wants to take it and places to go. So great, get that out of your head. Let me hold it for you. Let me catch it for you. Usually in the first 30, 60, 90 days when I start working with someone, there's like some sort of diagnosis of like, okay, what's sticky, what's working, what's not working. Like basically, what am I stepping into? Get me up to speed as quickly as possible. Talking to the people on the team to get a full 360 on all for them, what's working, what's not, what's sticky, all that kind of stuff. Like just what do they see, right? They sit figuratively and literally in a different spot. And then from that come up with some sort of plan. And so part of it is also the founder. We have a lot of just sit down sessions where they're like, oh, and I want to do this and I want to do this and then this. And I'm just like, sitting there taking notes. And so incorporating all of that information to come up with the plan, short-term plan, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, because, it takes a lot to do the things they want to do. And also to our conversation earlier about habits just change and build connection and trust with the team to trust me and like me to come in and like work on this and, help implement it because there are going to be some changes, but also bridge all the things a founder wants to do because they're the crazy, wild, creative visionary. That's not my role. Like I'm so much better as an executor, integrator, operator, like whatever people want to call it. But it is being that bridge between the CEO, all their amazing, sometimes crazy, as they should be, wild, lovely, fabulous ideas, discerning which ones make the most sense or which ones make the most sense for now, which ones make the most sense for 6 months. Okay, we want to do that, but before we get there, we got to go here. We got to build a little bit. We got to sort of reset because if you want to grow and scale, you need to have stability. You can't, we're going to go in a new market. We're going to launch a new client offering. We're going to redo our website and we're going to get a new office. It's like, well, that's manic and that's not setting yourself up for success. So stabilizing and then being able to grow and build from there and being that bridge between getting back with the CEO around, okay, here's the plan. So things are happening. Here's what we're not working on right now, and here's why. And then also being the bridge with the team and translating all of that, because sometimes it literally is like a personality translation on how the CEO operates and how their brain operates, because it's usually before I come in, it just kind of like rolls downhill. And sometimes it's very reactive to like, oh, right. We all know founders where it's like, oh, wait, let's do this. We're going to launch this new thing next week. And you're like, oh my God, wait, we've been working on this whole other thing. It's like, no, 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 we're going to be over here now. We've all probably worked with founders and CEOs like that. So being that translation and bridge between her and the team and everyone, like pulling out the leadership team and everybody else to help move it all forward. Yeah, it's kind of crazy work, but I love it. It's definitely, the more I do it, the more I'm like, oh yeah, my brain is definitely wired a little differently, but it is honestly super fun. And when people are like, I start working with a CEO founder, most people are very not embarrassed, but it's like a little vulnerable to kind of pull the curtain back and tell me all the things and like show me your systems or lack of systems. I don't judge. I'm like, no, no, no. I don't expect you to have things in order. That's why I'm here. Like, that's okay. I want to get in and like help. And this is not your strong suit. So yeah, I understand why you've got going on what you do or why you don't. But yeah, I love coming in and, removing all that friction and translating, being the bridge. And then in 6, 12, 18, 24 months, see the magic happen and come to life.
I'm curious because I'm listening to you talk through this, and there's an arm of our business that we call Align PS. So this is a framework that's all based on creating a people system in organizations versus like the templated operating systems that are out there. And
Okay.
there's so many like cool commonalities, but you do kind of a part that we don't do. So I would be curious because when we engage with an entrepreneur, we put them through an archetype assessment and we're trying to get to the core of like, where are you the bottleneck? And so that word bottleneck kept flashing through my head as you're talking because we are all our own bottleneck. Like, and you know this, Joanna, like there's things that you probably, I don't want to be an assumer, but there's things that you may teach that maybe in your own business, you're like, I need to work on this a little bit. Disha and I talk about this all the time. We're like, there's things that we teach on that we're masterful at. And then we turn around and we're like, why didn't we do that for our own business? Like, this is ridiculous. So my question for you is you, with all the work that you've done and all the years that you've spent with entrepreneurs, with CEOs, with founders, what is the one bottleneck that you see that keeps coming up? Like, where are we in our own way?
Systems and processes are all in our own head. How we do things is all up here in the 6 or 7 inches between our 2 ears. And which I get, like, no shame, no shade. I understand why. Of course, if you're a one woman show when you start and you don't even know this thing is going to be a thing, why are you going to write stuff down? I get it, right? And also it's when you are looking to hire, maybe you've hired someone, usually it's like an EA, a virtual assistant, some project based person for a short period of time. And this is totally Brittany, like, yeah, this is things I catch myself all the time. Oh, I'll just do it myself. It's easier. Oh, I'll just do it myself. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I got it. Which means we are doing, I don't know, whatever you pay a VA, 25, 30, $50 an hour. We are doing $50 an hour tasks that are preventing us from doing 250, $500 an hour, 500 euro an hour, 500 pound an hour tasks to move and advance our business forward. That is it all the time. It is the first thing I'm coming in and doing are systems, processes. How do you do what you do? Who's responsible for it? Who owns it? Not even necessarily like, oh, I want a title. Oh, it's Brittany. But it's like, oh, this is for the CFO. This is actually marketing. This sits over here with the client delivery team. So yeah, that is it, is the systems and processes to, if you want to grow, you need a team. If you want a team, they need to know how to do things. You've been doing things a certain way. Maybe things are changed and maybe you keep doing it a certain way if it's worked really well. But Disha, to your point earlier, it's like people can't read our minds as much as we want them to, how much as we want people just in our brains to be like, just know how to do things. You've got to get it out on paper. Yeah, it's systems and processes.
How do you keep a founder with you? And I mean like their brains with you, because I very much relate to the, oh, we definitely do this now. Oh, and I have 5 million new ideas. Oh, Why was that idea that I gave you only 10 seconds ago not done already? Of course, it's not done already. That's ridiculous. Okay. I've moved on already. Because I bet you work with founders who go, oh, we've got Joanna. And they just like feel free and then they're off to go create even more. How do you keep them locked into you a little bit long enough to get what you need?
Oof, that is a great question. You know, as you're talking, so I have like 97, except for 2 clients, have worked with women. And 1 client, which was 2 guys that I'm thinking of, I'm like slightly triggered thinking about them because they were that, well, let's do this and then let's do that. And they would just wreak havoc on their team. And their team and I would just put so much heart and soul and energy and time into building out one thing and the next thing. And it was crazy to me too, because I'm like, you are, as a business owner, I'm like, you are wasting so much money. Forget the manicness of like the ideas and just the spastic energy. I'm like, forget that. I'm like, you just paid your team how much in 1 month to work on building out this one thing of your membership platform. And now you want to go over here and you're just dropping this and you want to launch this other new thing. Yeah, that's the part that always boggles my mind of the expense of that manicness. So how do I manage them? I do a really good job listening. I mean, I just do the best I can and recognize that when I come work with CEOs, there's a scale, a range of like how visionary and wild and ideas they're going to be, right? And sort of understanding like where do they fall on that scale so that I can best match and meet them where they need to be. Because sometimes it's, hey, we just need a regular schedule of communications where they just need to unload and dump ideas. Great, I'll catch them. We'll have like a working Google Docs where they can just put ideas and we're constantly, reorganizing for priority. And I'm putting notes sometimes maybe to not push back, but like, okay, well, you want to do that. Like, tell me more about how that would work and who are we talking to and like, what's the vision for that? And sometimes even in those questions, it's like, oh yeah, no, that's actually not a good idea. Let's not do that. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. Let's not do that. And then sometimes it's other people I work with who just they need a text check-in, they need a Voxer. I'll see something on socials that I'm like, oh, need to pop in and check in with that person. It's me doing my best people management on just trying to meet them best where they are. I will say the ones that are a little bit more like ping pongy kind of energy all over the place, it is harder for sure because I am that structure and just by nature, like structure and stability and systems and processes. So I also have to manage myself when they're a little all over the place in their visionary space, as they should be. Like we need those people to start companies, to have crazy ideas, to throw stuff against the wall, to see what sticks. Like we need those people. We need the people like me who then can integrate the plan. And then there's also another subset of personality in the business world who can just help maintain. They're like, I'm not here to change. Right? It's like you see this with companies, a CEO will come in, will grow it, and then they'll exit after a couple years and they bring someone else in to just like maintain. They're not looking for growth. Those people are just everyone is as important in the whole ecosystem. So yeah, I always just hope for like a good personality match. I do my due diligence just to spend a lot of time talking with someone because not only did I want to love them because we're going to be spending a lot of time together. And if I look down and see their name on my phone, I don't want to be like, oh, what does Brittany want now? Like I never want to be in that space. I want to be excited about what they're calling to tell me about. I want that as a two-way street. Like I want them to trust me because I'm getting in their baby and like making some changes and making sure that they're also in the right mindset too, to be open to the growth. And I don't necessarily always know what's coming. Like, okay, we're going to be doing these things, but I don't really know how it's all going to pan out. I don't know how well it's going to be received by your team or not. Maybe everybody quits. Maybe that's a good thing because maybe they're awful anyway. But that could be freaky for some, CEOs. So I just do the best due diligence I can and meet them in the moment. And sometimes it's a longer engagement and sometimes it's a shorter engagement than others.
Joanna, I can't help but think about, the evolution of this. And, you come in and honestly, I'm kind of chuckling to myself over here as I'm like, wow, you have a superhuman skill because like really being able to, connect with real in some aspects, the visionary. I mean, that's hard. That is not a simple task. So what I'm curious on is, do you have one huge success story that you could share where you're like, this is what it was before, and then after I worked with them, this is what happened and this is what was transformational?
Absolutely. I'm not going to name names only because I haven't gotten her permission, but I will just say that I adore her, love her. We're still really good friends, and I'm still so insanely proud of her and seeing everything she's done. She's someone who I was, just kind of saying that I don't always know what the journey is going to look like. It's like, okay, I know we're going to do things. I know we're going to improve this. I know we're going to work on this, but I don't actually know how it's all going to transpire and how it's all going to unfold. And the biggest work is that journey that the founder has to make, but in the space between their 2 ears of their own personal growth and development journey to move from founder to CEO. I mean, that's honestly the hardest work. It's not writing job descriptions and hiring people and putting them in the right seat and interviewing and all that kind of stuff. It really is their journey. And so she's one of my favorite people to talk about because her growth journey, we've worked together for about 15, 16 months. And where she started of having a talent management agency, looking to expand into new markets, wanting to grow her team, wanting to grow her roster. She was a couple years in the space, so it was just sort of new into the space and wanted to build up her digital footprint, wanted to build up her thought leadership, wanting to build up her accolades and being recognized by her peers and in the industry, which just helps, raise the overall profile of the agency. More talent want to work with you, brands want to work with you. So, right, rising tide raises all boats. And aside from the fact that she's British and such a delight to work with, so like I adore her already from the get-go for that reason. Where she was with having a small team, she went through some really wild sort of how you don't know how it's all going to unfold, but some professional growth and development of having some team members. It was like, okay, for where you are to where you want to be, you need to expand your team, but there's always that push pull on, do you grow the roster to have the income? So when you bring on more talent managers to manage talent, they have a roster. So they are already basically earning their salary and then some, right? They're covering their costs. Or do you bring on the manager and then they have to fill their roster, which is a gamble because it depends on how long that could take of, bringing in talent to manage them, like influencers and content creators. And so the team that she did have, it was a bit more of a like, "Ooh, actually, we're going to take a couple steps backwards before we go forwards." But you don't know that's coming. I very much feel like she had some people on her team that were not the best fit. She had made some sort of reactive, excited hires without having an official process around like who she's interviewing, what she's looking for in team members, like what her culture was. She was very early on in her building up of her this chapter of her career. So she had some people on her team who were not a good fit. And she knew that we were working on it. You do the PIP and you try to set them up and really, you got to do the things before you can let them go. And anyhow, it ended up that a couple of these people all sort of had some unprofessional implosions and walked away from working with her, which of course causes anyone to freak out. I think it was literally on like a Friday and she was on vacation or her honeymoon or like something made like it was just like, oh my God, could you have picked an absolute worst time? Of course, that's when it happens. I think I was about to go on vacation. I mean, it was just like, oh my gosh. And a lot of the women I work with, so I'm 47, a lot of the women I work with are late 30s, maybe early 40s. She was a little bit younger than that. So there's also this element of just mentoring on life and coaching on life and being further along in my entrepreneurship journey, being further along in life. So I just remember one moment when she was calling, understandably like freaking out. And, I'm like, oh, well, this is great. Like, they're gone. You don't have to continue to have them on trial and pay for them and navigate this toxicity. Okay, I get it. Now we have a different problem to deal with. But like, oh, look, the universe just like literally had an exit stage left off your company, but she's freaking out. So just that moment of like working with her through all that and being like, it's fine. This is good. Everyone goes through this. This is actually a blessing in disguise. When we get to the other side of this, I promise you it's going to be fine. It feels like it's not fine right now, but like it's going to be fine. So we figured out her interview process, hiring her team. She created and built out and has grown a senior leadership team so that they've taken on more responsibilities within like all these things that she wanted to do and all these ideas that she has to do and to do bigger and better. It's not necessarily like one and done, but just, okay, we did it. I want to do it bigger and better and something like that next time. So she's built out her senior leadership team. She is very well known in the industry, has an amazing forever spotlight on her as being just like very well respected. She's won some awards. She has some like her roster is amazing. Her team is amazing. So to have seen her built up that, obviously her revenues increased over time. She's expanded into new markets. She's like within what she does with talent management, like partnered with some other agencies to provide the digital talent management services for more like traditional celebrities who then grow social media and like their agents don't know how to handle it. So she's been able to partner to provide support with some like really well-known famous people in England. So like that's just amazing to see. And she's just continued to be such a delightful human along the whole way. So she has been someone I mean, I was there to support, I was there to help, I was there to provide some guardrails and, plan and strategy, but she's the one who did the work day in and day out. So she is someone I'm just so insanely proud of. And I always hold her up as an example of she always showed up to do the work. She never complained. I learned later that she would like kind of in between our sessions and calls would like have her freak out moments, but she never spiraled and brought it to our calls. And I always thought that she was just so decisive and would commit. She never like dragged her feet on stuff in these personal growth, like big moments. She would have the hard conversations. She'd be like, okay, Joanna, I'm just gonna go do it. Like I'd coach her through it, we'd role play it. And I hold her up as this example of like the ability to be decisive without necessarily even knowing what the next path looks like, but just trusting to decide in that moment on whatever it is without having everything figured out really continues to serve her. And it's something I talk about as like a superpower for other entrepreneurs and a lot of the other, people I work with. I'm like, I don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers, but like, I need you to make decisions so we can keep moving this forward without spinning on like the what ifs, because then you're just going to get yourself, stuck. So this person I've been talking about has just been so decisive without having all the information. I've just been so insanely proud of her. And yeah, she's awesome. She's great.
I love that. So I think one thing to pull out of that too is it's like you're with somebody at their absolute rock bottom. And then you get to see that evolution. And I think that's the beautiful thing in anything that we get to do. Anybody who gets to work truly closely with their clients and gets to be part of that journey, I think that's such a beautiful thing because, man, there's peaks and valleys for all of us. I mean, I'm sure anybody listening here can think of times where you're like, that's it. I'm selling everything, maybe even my kids. Maybe that's not an appropriate joke right now, but it's like I'm getting rid of everything and I'm going to go live on an island and I'm just going to sip martinis and I just hope some cabana boy brings me a drink. Like there are these times, right, where it just becomes unbearable. And I think, Joanna, what you do is such a beautiful thing because you're helping people through those moments. And I think what founders, what CEOs, what entrepreneurs don't often realize about scale is there's this shed of previous identity. And there's this shed and letting go of like what you've held on to for so long. And that happens again and again. It's been a couple months ago now, but we interviewed Melissa Bernstein, the founder of Melissa and Doug toy brand. And even she talked about like she came off of like a $1.1 billion sale of her business. And now she's creating a new identity and this new, life ahead of her and all of these things. So it never stops. That's my point. It never stops. The peaks and valleys never stop. When you are driven, when you want growth, when you're not done, like you're not done making impact, that always happens. So I just really appreciate you sharing that journey and what your experience was alongside that client of yours, because I think there's so much we can all see. So Joanna, before we ask kind of our final parting question, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, if they're listening going, that is the woman I need in my life.
That's my girl. Yeah.
That is my girl. How do they get a hold of you?
The best possible way, I've got a website, Johanna Voss, JohannavaVoss.com. You can just Google my name. I have pretty good SEO and a digital footprint if you can't remember all these things. But there's LinkedIn, there's my website, I have a Substack, and there's lots of ways to like just get on my calendar. I'm happy to chat with anyone who's had some moment of like, oh my God, I need you or I want you or whatever. Yeah, just Google my name, LinkedIn, Substack, website. Happy to have a conversation. Always.
Thank you for that. And all the links will be in the show notes too.
Fabulous. Thank you much, ladies. This was awesome. I appreciate you both having me on.
Our parting question before we
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
is there Anything that we did not ask you that we should have?
Oh my gosh. Anything you didn't ask me that you should have? Yes. And that is, what do I think is super important for entrepreneurs to do in the longevity of the peaks and the valleys? And let's be honest, the valleys usually come right after a peak because life is humbling like that. What do I think is a really important habit? And I would say any sort of, you got to put yourself first. You are your biggest investment and asset in your business. And I don't just mean invest in like do a mastermind and hire a coach. I mean, eat well, drink your water, sleep, get off your screen, and find ways to move your body with regularity. The end.
Beautiful. Well, on that parting note, I think that is great advice to land on, and not just advice, but practiced advice. So, Joanna, thank you for joining us today. It has been such a great pleasure.
Thank you, ladies.
If this episode supported you, share it with a woman you respect and want to lift up.
Join our free Trailblazers community, the space where high-achieving women finally feel met.
You'll find the link in the show notes.
Until next time, keep moving forward, keep listening to yourself.
And remember, you deserve support too.